YouTube, how is everyone doing today? Come on back to the program. Last night, something finally clicked. I felt like I was peeking into the next chapter of crypto before anybody else noticed when I came into a series of massively timed XRP moves. I agree with that. As I delved further, I couldn't help but be reminded of the early days of Bitcoin ETFs, only with a far more streamlined setup and far quicker development. Remind yourself to subscribe at all times. Please consider subscribing to that channel and giving it a thumbs up if you're interested in supporting it. As usual, YouTube will give this video greater algorithmic weight if it receives more likes. This is where it all starts, so let's jump right in. This pattern kept popping up, didn't it? Sure, major money will go silent. Certain liquidity pockets are tightening as it loads, and suddenly, bang, Frankie T. It was as if they had dropped the very piece of the jigsaw I needed. Roger Baston, who oversees all digital assets for the company, makes more than one reference to XRP. According to him, it is an essential component of online portfolios. Fundamental for all, not exploratory or speculative, fundamental. When asset managers want to standardize their internal choice to accumulate before going public, they use wording like that. Then this news item appeared on your screen. He drops the bombshell on us, Baston. Please keep in mind that they did not say this for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Hardera, or Litecoin. Regarding XRP, they stated this. They boasted that regulatory custody is provided by its XRPZ traded exchange traded fund. Instantaneous liquidity and everyday transparency without the hassle of physically holding the token. Wall Street uses that term all the time, you know. More exposure is great, but we need it on a grand scale, and the general public isn't quite ready to grasp the rationale behind it just yet. For the simple reason that you need to give this some thought, okay? When there is operational friction, institutions despise it. They find it intolerable. Wallets, cold storage, and memoranda are not what they're after. None of that will satisfy them. Now we're communicating with ETFs in their language. Furthermore, the plot never deviates from its original course after ETFs enter the picture. Suppression in supply, cash drying up, and institutions going silent. Shoppers wonder, why is this running? Please explain. The first two stages of XRP's life cycle, the silent accumulation phase, are currently underway, folks. And I want to reveal it to you, so it will only become clearer from here on out. My own invention, which is making its way to xrprightnow.com, the premier Ripple and XRP news site. You proceeded directly to this spot as I delved farther. Subtly, I've been preparing the foods, so long as establishments were preparing the way. Are you ready for this? Not gossip, but data. The actual flow was what I required, and I had to show you every receipt. I'm revealing my XRP ETF tracker to all of you today, for the first time ever. Take a peek at the volume over the past 24 hours in real time. You can begin to observe the momentum that is developing beneath the surface by doing 5-day flows on this platform. What this tracker showed me was shocking, since the figures weren't simply healthy. They were shocking. Every one of them was in sync. This mimics the action of multiple players simultaneously pressing keys on a keyboard. Indeed, I do have a surprise that is hidden behind the data, which I will not reveal to you at this time. You may expect it soon. Something that is directly related to the story's eventual climax later on in the video. That being said, I can assure you that it will not disappoint. The wait will be worthwhile. Like the news, this will also be free of charge. No news is ever expensive. To access all of your data, just click on one link, just the most recent and noteworthy XRP News Ripple. In addition to a tracker, you receive all of the partnerships and upcoming ETFs. You can see the volume on both the 24-hour and 5-day graphs. After that, we'll have a lovely little box prepared that details the overall volume of all the spot ETFs. Aside from spot ETFs, I will also include them on the list. This very second, imagine it as a cheat sheet, your cheat sheet, that institutions utilize, but that retail never even looks at. A huge thank you to Bitwise for their assistance and for directing me to the appropriate endpoints to utilize in tracking this. This is the game that is played before the price truly moves. To hear it from those guys, I am grateful. Listen, this is the perfect opportunity to open an iTrust Capital account if you haven't already. Trust Capital is more than simply a retirement account anymore if you believe we are in a bear market, or if you want to keep for the next 4, 8, 15 to 20 years. They do offer a product called their Premium Custody Solution too, so it's not just for retirement. Then what on earth is this? It's really easy. With this, you can rest assured that your cryptocurrency will always be safe from hackers and accidental clicks. What is the process? It is easy. Capital has my faith. Your crypto is not held by them. You will be utilizing Fidelity or Fireblocks in addition to Coinbase's institutions. So you see, that's the man that controls your cryptocurrency. The best aspect, though, is that even if your account were ever compromised, the hacker would still be unable to do anything with the funds. They would only be able to withdraw your cryptocurrency and deposit it into your bank account. Put your worries to rest. Am I missing something? Where may my wallet be? Get some rest, serenely at night, unafraid of anything. It's something you should definitely look into. You can find my link below, and guess what? If you use it, you'll get $100. Things are about to heat up now. Since XRP is compatible with their easy formula, there is community debate over whether Franklin Templeton should employ it. I get it, but XRPZ felt too polished when it was released, as if it were intended to be easily identifiable, as if they hoped this ticker would become famous, as though they are actively preparing for an even greater tidal wave than the one we are seeing now. XRPZ sounds more like a category than an experiment, and the instant the announcement was made that more information regarding XRPZ is now available online, the entire storyline changed. There was no dry run for this. This was not a temporary solution. The second move in the institutional strategy was this: get the product down to earth, make the ticker stand out, and then simplify exposure. And now the figures start to get crazy. Keep an eye on the liquidity and how it reacts when institutions subtly intervene. There were 4 predictions for the first hour that came in today. 4.5 million from Bitwise, 4.2 million from Paneri, 4 million from Frankie T, and 1.1 million from Grayscale. In the first hour alone, that amounts to about 14 million in XRP purchases. By the end of the day, it's projected that XRP will be worth more than $90 million. Those aren't retail sales, you know. No retail establishment has $90 million. Neither is that hype. That's not the mood on Twitter. That is the trajectory of coordinated institutional funding. It's finally at peace. At this point in any narrative, the audience should experience it. Institutions, let it be known, are involved, thus something larger is happening here. For enjoyment, they don't buy. Establishments make purchases with the purpose of establishing a presence. We're keeping an eye on resources. Take place right now, everyone, is something I'd like you to consider. Now we arrive at the macro shift. Allow me to update this page. Top, during his appearance on CNBC, Lianio says something that really sticks out. This is particularly true while keeping tabs on ETF flows. According to him, Bitcoin has seen what is essentially a worldwide financial crisis once every 6 months to 10 years. It's nothing new for us. However, consider the implications of it. At last, the crypto risk has been recognized by institutions. Their fear has subsided. You know them. They are at ease, and if they are at ease with Bitcoin, you can bet that they are beginning to shift their focus to assets that perform settlement-related functions. Do you have any idea where they're headed? Trust boards, payment processors, and assets that manage liquidity are all possible. Here pomp out at least 30% on 21 separate occasions. There have been 7 cases where 50% or more has been achieved. For 10 years, that would be the equivalent of a worldwide financial catastrophe every year and a half. Those that deal in Bitcoins are spoiled. The folks coming from Wall Street are the ones who aren't accustomed to this. This kind of volatility is new to them. These newcomers are incredibly terrified. People are attempting to answer the question, should I sell this asset about which I was so enthusiastic? As a whole, I do believe that the 35% decline from the all-time high is a fairly good reset. Is this going to be a severe drawdown like the 70% to 80% we've seen in previous bear markets? Or is it more typical, and we may anticipate a reset to create a new foundation before returning to all-time highs in the coming weeks? Your opinion on the part would have been greatly appreciated. Is Bitcoin going to have that 70%, 80%, or 90% correction, which would have a domino effect on the market? Obviously, he didn't, but perhaps we are establishing a new foundation here, and in 2026, we will be able to climb much higher. His statements here, however, are more than mere commentary. We get here because he is hinting at something that is about to happen. News item. Your vice president is J.D. Bounds. It is still widely believed that digital assets do not belong in the traditional financial system. Rest assured, our policy-changing endeavor is solely focused on that. Crypto and digital assets, especially Bitcoin, are now a part of the mainstream economy and will remain so for the foreseeable future. We hope our fellow Americans will understand this. These claims are enormous. Wish for our fellow citizens to be informed that digital assets and cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, are integrated into the mainstream economy and will remain so. Do you understand what that implies? Attention, everyone. Crypto is being positioned as infrastructure, not simply speculation, and political support is on the rise while regulatory anxiety is disappearing. And when the government begins to speak in this way, it grants institutions the permission they much desire. Your legacy funds will stop hesitating and begin allocating the moment Washington gives the signal that this is permanent. It all makes perfect sense now, doesn't it, regarding the XRP ETF flows? So here we are with Reese Merrick from Ripple. He said that 92% of the world's banks lack immediate access to USD payouts. In terms of global financial choke points, that is the most significant hint. No less than 92% of the population. Since Ripple lacks a swift collaboration, many believe that the company is doomed. Cool, because Reese Merrick quickly shut it down by saying that they don't have direct access to 92% of the world's banks. Far too fast. Causes friction everywhere. Hefty correspondent fees, blocked liquidity, and sluggish settlement. And how can we fix this? To be honest, I don't see any complexity. US dollar moving assets and international dollar moving assets that don't require lightning speed have been identified. Currency stablecoins, of course. However, settlement layers such as XRP, you will evolve into that following stage. The world needs a new system, and exchange-traded funds, ETFs, are just a means for institutions to get a head start. The plot is finally starting to make sense, isn't it? Reason being, JP Morgan is the source of the last revelation. So this is the twist I see. The $4 trillion banking behemoth JP Morgan recently disclosed the sale of MicroStrategy for $134 million. But why is this important? I'll give you the reason. Why? Because unless they're getting ready for something new, banks won't get out of Bitcoin's shadow. The company is either getting ready for an infrastructure change or is reallocating its funds to a different digital asset. This sale was well planned and executed. When you factor that change into everything we've covered in this video, the ETF, the flows, the worldwide banking divide, and the political green light, it becomes crystal clear. It suggests, at least in part, that XRP and the adoption of digital assets are entering a new phase. It's not sitting on the bench. It stands smack dab in the middle of the battleground. For that reason, you may not have the same options to purchase XRP in a few months or perhaps a year sooner than most people anticipate. A shift will occur in the liquidity. There will also be changes to the entry points. We are at the beginning of a story in which buyers will alter. What, therefore, have we found today? The institutions, however, are already in motion. A new political dynamic is emerging. The rails of the banking system are crumbling. There has been an increase in trade, and the RAI ETFs are now active. Real scalable global settlement assets are in high demand, and the rotation is happening. None of this is hype. It's the same old pattern, and we've seen it all before. Institutions silently amassed assets that retail failed to notice till much later. But you know what? It's early. This is a real-time story that you are witnessing. I promise we're only at the beginning of this, so if you stick around, I'll show you every new chapter as soon as it comes out. Good luck with it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up before you go, after which I will meet you all on the subsequent one. YouTube, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Something just snapped into place last night. I stumbled onto a chain of XRP moves so big and so perfectly timed that it felt like the peaking at the next chapter of crypto before anyone else even knows it exists. That's right. And the deeper I dug, the more it felt like the early Bitcoin ETF days, except this time, the setup is way more cleaner and it is moving way more faster. As always, make sure you're subscribed. If you're looking to support that channel, hit that join button below any single video and give me a thumbs up. As always, the more thumbs up this video gets, the more YouTube will push it through the algorithm. Now let's start right here because this is where it all begins. I kept seeing this pattern, right? Big funds going silent, certain. While it's loading, specific liquidity pockets tightening, then boom, Frankie T. They dropped the exact puzzle piece that I was missing. Roger Baston, who's their head of digital assets, he doesn't just mention XRP. He calls it a foundational building block of digital portfolios. Foundational, everyone, not speculative, not experimental, foundational. That is the kind of language that asset managers only use when they've already made the internal decision to accumulate and they need to normalize it before going public. Then we get this piece of news you see on your screen. Baston, he hits us with the real gem. Remember, they didn't say this about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Hardera, Litecoin. No. They said this about XRP. They stated that their ETF trading under ticker XRPZ provides regulatory custody, daily transparency and liquidity without the operational complexity of holding the token directly. You know what that's Wall Street's code for, right? We want more exposure, but we want it at scale in the public. They're not ready to understand why yet. Because think about this for a second, all right? Institutions, they hate operational friction. They can't stand it. They don't want wallets, cold storage, memos. They don't want any of that. ETFs now, we're speaking their language. And once ETFs appear, the story always follows the exact same path. Institutions get quiet, liquidity dries up, supply shrinks. Retail looks around like, why is this running? I don't understand. Folks, we are at step 1 and step 2 right now for XRP, the quiet accumulation phase. And it only gets more obvious from here because I want to unveil to you my very own doing creation, which is coming to the #1 Ripple and XRP news site, xrprightnow.com. You can see you went right here because I went deeper. I've been cooking behind the scenes. If institutions were laying the groundwork, well, guess what? I needed the receipts, and I needed to show you all the receipts. The actual flow, not rumors, but data. Today, for the first time ever, those watching this video, I'm showing you my XRP ETF tracker. This is the real-time look at 24-hour volume. Do 5-day flows on here, and you start to see the momentum that is building under the surface. And let me tell you what this tracker showed me that absolutely shocked me. Because the numbers, they weren't just healthy, they were all coordinated. This is like a group of players all turning their keys at the same time. And yes, below the data, which I'm not going to show you just yet, I do have a surprise. It will be out soon, something that ties directly into where this whole story is going later on in this video. But trust me, folks, it's not going to be a disappointment. It is worth waiting for. Yes, this is all going to be free, just like the news. All the news is free. You need one link to get all of your information. The latest and greatest Ripple in XRP news. You get all the partnerships, all the new ETFs coming, and then a tracker. So you can see how much volume has come in on the 24-hour and on the 5-day. And then we'll have a beautiful little box lined up that tells you the total amount of volume across all of the ETFs, the spot ETFs. I'll even going to list the non-spot ETFs on it, this right here. I want you to think of it like a cheat sheet, your cheat sheet, the lens that institutions use that retail never gets the glance at. This is how the game gets played before the price actually moves, and a big shout out to Bitwise for helping me and pointing me to the correct endpoints to be used for tracking this. I appreciate that coming from those guys. Now look, if you don't have an iTrust Capital account, now's the time to do it. If you think we're in a bear market, or if you're looking to hold for the next 4, 8, 15 to 20 years, iTrust Capital is not just a retirement account anymore. Yes, that can be used for retirement, but they have something called their premium custody solution. What is this? It's very simple. This is your way of never having to worry about your crypto being hacked again or clicking on the wrong link. How does it work? It's simple. iTrust Capital. They don't hold your crypto. You'll be using even Coinbase's institution, Fidelity, or Fireblocks. That is who is in charge of your crypto. But the beautiful part about all this is that if your account ever did get hacked, hacker can't do anything with it because they can only cash out your crypto, and it can only go into your bank accounts. So no more worrying. Did I click the wrong link? Is my wallet exposed? You can sleep beautifully at night having no fears in the world. You're going to want to check it out. My link's down below, and hey, guess what? You get $100 for using my link. Now here's where the story gets spicy. They're debating in the community whether Franklin Templeton should go with EZRP because it fits their EZ formula. Sure, I get it, but when they announced XRP Z-Man, it just felt way too clean. Like it was meant to be recognizable. Like they want this ticker to become iconic, like they are caring for a wave of attention far bigger than today. XRPZ doesn't sound like an experiment, it sounds like a category. And when they say learn more about XRPZ now live, that was the moment this whole narrative shift. This wasn't a test run. This wasn't a placeholder. This was step 2 of the institutional playbook. Make the product real, make the ticker memorable, and then make the exposure easy. And now the numbers start getting insane. I want you to watch how the liquidity behaves when institutions are quietly stepping in. Your first hour projections that came in today, Bitwise 4.5 million, Penury 4.2 million, Frankie T coming in with 4 million out the gate, and Grayscale with 1.1 million. That is a total right around $14 million buying XRP within the first hour. The end of day projections is over $90 million buying up XRP. You realize that's not retail, folks. Retail doesn't have $90 million. That is not hype either. That's not Twitter sentiment. That is coordinated institutional money finding its lane. It's finding its happy place. This is the moment in every story where the viewer should feel it. Oh, something bigger is moving here because institutions, let's make this clear, they don't buy for fun. Institutions buy for positioning. We're watching allocation happen in real time, folks. Want you to think about that. Which brings us over to this, the macro shift. Let me refresh this page. Top Lianio gets on CNBC and he drops a line that just hits different, especially when you're watching ETF flows. He states Bitcoin has had the equivalent of a global financial crisis every year and a half or a decade. We're used to this. Think about what that means, though. Institutions have finally adjusted to their crypto risk. They are no longer scared. They are familiar. They are comfortable. And if they're comfortable with Bitcoin, you better believe that they are starting to rotate into assets that actually do something like settlement. What do you think they're going to go? Assets can actually do trust board or payments and can actually handle liquidity assets. Listen to Pomp, 30% or more, 21 different times. Of that, 7 of them have been 50% or more. That's like having a global financial crisis every year and a half for a decade. Bitcoiners are used to this. Now, who's not used to this are the people who are coming from Wall Street. They're not used to this type of volatility. These new people are very, very fearful. People are trying to figure out, should I actually sell this asset that I thought I was really excited about? I do think that a 35% drawdown that we've seen from the all-time high is pretty healthy reset. Is this going to be one of these very large drawdowns that we've seen in these bear markets of 70, 80%, or is this simply something that is more normal and we should expect this reset to then provide a new base and then we go back to all-time highs over the next couple of weeks from now? I really wish you would have commented on the part. Are we going to see that 70, 80, 90% correction on Bitcoin, which of course would drag the rest of the market down? Of course he didn't, but maybe this is the new base that we are forming and we are going to push higher moving into 2026. But what he has said here, he's not just commenting, he is foreshadowing what is going to happen, which leads us over to this piece of news. Is J.D. Bounds, your vice president. Listen, there's still this perception that digital assets are not welcome in the mainstream economy. And let me promise you that our effort to change the policy is purely about changing that. We want our fellow Americans to know that crypto and digital assets, and particularly Bitcoin, are part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay. These are massive statements. Want our fellow Americans to know that crypto and digital assets, particularly Bitcoin, are part of the mainstream economy and that they are here to stay. You know what that means, right? Regulatory fear is fading, political support, it's rising, and crypto is being positioned as infrastructure now, folks, not just speculation. And when the government starts speaking like this, it unlocks something that institutions desperately need, and that is permission. Because once Washington signals that this is here to stay, your legacy money stops tiptoeing and it starts allocating. The XRP ETF flows, they suddenly make perfect sense in this context now, don't they? Which leads us over to this, Reese Merrick from Ripple. He said 92% of world's banks, 92%, they do not have direct SWIFT access for USD payouts. That is the biggest clue of all, the global financial choke point. 92% everyone. So people are like, oh, Ripple doesn't have a SWIFT partnership. They're dead in the water. Well, that's cool because Reese Merrick just shut that down real quick by telling that 92% of the world's bank, they don't have direct access to SWIFT. Means slow settlement, trapped liquidity, high correspondent fees, friction everywhere. And what solves this? Well, it's very simple if you ask me. Assets that can move the United States dollar and assets that can move that value internationally without actually needing SWIFT. USD stablecoins? Sure. But settlement layers like XRP, that is your next evolution. The world is begging for a better system, and ETFs are simply the gateways for institutions to front-run that future. Now the story, it all starts coming together, doesn't it? Because the final reveal comes from JP Morgan. That's right, this is the twist. JP Morgan, a $4 trillion banking giant, they just revealed they sold $134 million worth of MicroStrategy. Why does this matter, though? I'll tell you why. Because banks don't rotate out of Bitcoin exposure unless they're positioning for something new. They are reallocating into a different digital asset, or they are preparing for a shift in infrastructure. This sale wasn't random, it was strategic. And when you place that move inside everything that we've shown in this video, the ETF, the flows, the global banking gap, the political green light, it points to one conclusion, that we are entering a new phase of digital asset adoption and XRP. It's not on the sidelines. It is in the absolute center of this battlefield. That is why in a few months, maybe a year sooner than most people actually realize, you might not be able to buy XRP the way you can today. The liquidity will change. The access points are going to change as well, and the buyers are going to change, and we're here at the beginning of that story, folks. So what have we uncovered today? Well, the institutions are already moving. The politics are shifting. The banking rails, they're breaking. The ETFs of RAI are live and the volume is rising. The rotation, it's real, and the demand for real scalable global settlement assets, it is exploding. This isn't hype. It's a pattern. A pattern we've seen before, and it always ends the same way. Retail realizes too late that the assets that they ignored became the assets that institutions accumulated quietly. But guess what? You're early. You're watching this story unfold in real time. And if you stay locked in, I'll keep showing you every new chapter the moment it appears, because trust me, we're just getting started, folks. I hope you enjoy it. Hit that thumbs up on your way out and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and I'll see all y'all on the next one. The institutions, however, are already in motion. A new political dynamic is emerging. The rails of the banking system are crumbling. There has been an increase in trade, and the RAI ETFs are now active. Real, scalable global settlement assets are in high demand, and the rotation is happening. None of this is hype. It's the same old pattern, and we've seen it all before. Institutions silently amassed assets that retail failed to notice till much later. But you know what? It's early. This is a real-time story that you are witnessing. I promise we're only at the beginning of this, so if you stick around, I'll show you every new chapter as soon as it comes out. Good luck with it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up before you go, after which I will meet you all on the subsequent one.